Welcome to Maritime Pakistan, your gateway to the fascinating world of oceans and the opportunities they present to every one of us. Today's video explores naval warfare through the book Fleet Tactics and Coastal Combat. Today, we will discuss the third chapter, Tactical Development in Peacetime, 1865-1914. We're talking about a period of absolutely unprecedented technological change that completely rewrote the rules of war at sea and really set the stage for World War I.
Now, why is this era called a golden age? Well, it's for a really specific reason. You see, with no major fleet battles to test all these revolutionary new technologies, like steam power, iron armor, and massive guns, the world's navies had to rely on pure theory, intense debate, and a whole lot of mathematics to figure out how to fight in this new age.
So, today we're going to trace this incredible evolution, from the brutal, almost chaotic reign of the ram, all the way to the calculated triumph of the big gun. And then, finally, we'll see the moment all this theory was put to the ultimate test.
The period after 1865 was, and this is no exaggeration, a revolution. All of a sudden you have steam propulsion, you have thick iron armor, and powerful new guns that made the classic wooden ship of the line, a design that had dominated the seas for centuries, completely and utterly obsolete. Navies literally had to be rebuilt from scratch.
This rapid technological jump created a super high-stakes race. I mean, innovations were coming thick and fast, from ironclads in the 1860s to wireless radio by the 1910s. Each and every new development forced a complete rethinking of naval tactics, as everyone was desperately searching for that new winning formula.
So, in the early days, the new iron armor was actually stronger than the guns of the day. You could fire a shell at one of these new ships, and it would just bounce right off. This led tacticians to a really radical, almost medieval conclusion about how to sink these new ironclad ships.
That's right. The orderly columns of majestic sailing ships firing their broadsides all in unison, that was suddenly seen as slow, vulnerable, and just totally ineffective. A new, much more brutal form of combat seemed like it was just around the corner.
And this thinking really got cemented at the Battle of Lissa, which was the only major fleet action of this early period. The Austrian fleet, in a wedge formation, just steamed right through the Italian line. The chaos that followed convinced navies for the next 25 years that the ram was the ultimate weapon.
The aftermath of Lissa was, well, tactical chaos. All these new theories popped up promoting wild melees and small, mutually supporting squadrons. It was a complete departure from centuries of naval doctrine. The neat, orderly lines of battle were gone, replaced with this idea of a chaotic free-for-all.
So, was this it? For a time, it really seemed so. A lot of people believed naval warfare was now going to look more like a bar fight than a chess match. But, as it always does, technology was about to shift the balance of power once again. You see, the ram's dominance was actually pretty short-lived. It was made obsolete not by better armor, but by two key technological innovations that brought firepower roaring back to the forefront of naval combat.
First, you had the torpedo. You can think of it as basically a ram with reach. It could deliver a devastating blow from a much safer distance. But the real game changer, that came from a dramatic improvement in gunnery accuracy and, fascinatingly enough, the application of pure mathematics to naval tactics.
Okay, so theorists started applying principles like the N-square law. Now what this means, in simple terms, is that concentrating your fire wasn't just an advantage, it was exponentially more destructive. So get this, two ships firing on one aren't just twice as effective, they're 4 times as effective. This one mathematical truth would change absolutely everything.
The implications were just staggering. I mean, take a look at these calculations from the era. For two perfectly equal fleets, if Side A opens fire just 4 minutes before Side B, the result is devastating. By minute 26, Side B is completely annihilated, wiped out. And here's the crucial point. It's not just that Side A wins, it's that it wins while retaining 57% of its own fighting power. The simple act of shooting first became the single most important tactical goal. And this realization, this led directly to the development of the all-big gun battleship, like the famous HMS Dreadnought.
All right, so navies now had fleets of these incredibly powerful long-range battleships. The new challenge, though, was a monumental one. How do you command and control these massive steel formations effectively in the heat of battle?
You see, fleets couldn't just sail around in one long, vulnerable line. They cruised in compact formations for efficiency, but to actually fight, they had to execute this incredibly complex, high-stakes deployment into a single battle line. If you got it wrong, you were finished before the battle even began. And because these battles were going to be decided at very long range, often before the fleets could even see each other, tactical scouting became absolutely essential. Fleets would push out screens of faster cruisers and battle cruisers, sometimes 20 miles ahead, just to find the enemy first and give the admiral enough time to execute that critical deployment.
So suddenly, admirals had to be masters of geometry, timing, and communication. They were wrestling with all these new problems. How do you achieve the classic cross-the-T maneuver against a fast-moving opponent? How do you do that while also coordinating scouts and destroyer screens with new and, frankly, unreliable radio technology?
So after 50 years of intense theorizing, of peacetime drills and intellectual debate, the ultimate test finally came in 1916. In the North Sea, the British Grand Fleet and the German High Seas Fleet, the two most powerful naval forces on Earth, finally met for the battle that everyone had been preparing for.
And this slide just shows the result perfectly. On the left, you've got the neat, orderly plans of the peacetime theorists. And on the right, that's the reality of Jutland. The plans immediately clashed with the smoke from 250 warships, the poor visibility, and just the sheer confusion of real combat.
Now, to be fair, the theorists got the big things right, the dominance of the big gun and the necessity of the battle column for concentrating fire. But they got other things wrong. They wildly overvalued speed, which proved way less decisive than expected, and critically, they just failed to account for how poor visibility and the fog of war could completely neutralize theoretical advantages and expose entire fleets to disastrous surprises.
So despite the chaos of Jutland, this era was an incredible triumph of tactical thought. It really was. It was a time when rigorous debate and peacetime analysis successfully prepared navies for a completely new kind of war. And the core principles they established, the power of concentrated long-range fire, well, those would define naval combat for decades to come. And that remains the central question for any military planner, doesn't it? We hope that you liked today's video. Post your questions in the comments section for future videos.